Hey guys, welcome to this new video on Parajumbles. We would take forward in this video whatever we've learned so far, except that the two questions I'm going to discuss in this video will be slightly trickier. They are not very difficult compared to the earlier ones, slightly trickier. To help give you the confidence that you need to solve parajumbles, which are not just the easy ones where the as we discussed, the connectors are lined up on the left side, but also those parajumbles where you don't see too many connectors lined up on the left side and the subject itself is a little unfamiliar to you. Those are the parajumbles which are difficult, where the subject is not familiar to you and you do not have the help of connectors. If we had connectors, even if the subject is unfamiliar, we could still do some alchemy. But when the subject is unfamiliar and there are no connectors, then it becomes a little tricky. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at the first question. You could pause the video here, take not more than 2 minutes, and probably not more than 2 minutes, and solve the question. Once you're done, you can again resume the discussion. Anyway, let's look at the question itself. 4 sentences. Number one, first thing we observe is that I have a such here, which is really useful if you remember. Such is a pronoun and points to something that has already been discussed in the previous sentence. Okay. For extremely rare events, this is not a connector. However, it is not it's something that tells you that there is a context if some other sentence is talking about rare events. If some other sentence is not talking about rare events, then it's not a connector. Okay, so you have to be a little careful about it. What else do you see? You see one name here called Taleb, but we can't get too excited about it because I cannot see the full name anywhere. If there was some other full name somewhere, then this would have been a useful clue for me, but right now it's not a useful clue for me. Okay, anyways, such retrospective speculation, which means some sentence is talking about some form of speculation. Now you'll have to note that there need not necessarily be, and it could be, but there need not necessarily be another sentence where the word speculation is used as it is. Okay, I could speak about conjecture or hypothesis in another sentence and say such speculation, because conjecture and hypothesis are very similar. Basically, all these three words are one group. They mean that you are not sure, you're trying to predict or you're trying to forecast or guess based on whatever little data you have. Then you use the word speculation, conjecture, or hypothesis. Those who are good at quant would know what conjecture is anyway. So you have to be good. This is where vocab becomes important, that you need to be able to make these connections. Such retrospective speculation, however, okay, this is another clue for me inside the sentence. However, and if you remember from the previous videos, what does however, or words like but, for example, it's a little difficult to write at this point, but I'll try. Okay, words like however, but, what do these words tell you? The tone on opposite sides of these contrast markers is opposite. So on one side, if the preceding part is positive, the following part is negative. And we always know what follows because it's obviously the same sentence, right? We know what is following, what's the tone. So we can guess what can be the previous sentence. What does it say here? The speculation does not actually help to predict future black swans, he says. Okay, so this is negative, does not actually help predict. So in the first sentence itself, I know that I'm looking for some sentence in the paragraph which probably says we can predict, or probably talks in favor of using predicting black swans. That much you have to keep in your mind, because the moment you hit the sentence, you make your cup in the block. You can't just read all 4 sentences and not make this connection again read it. You cannot waste time like that. Okay, now extrapolating using statistics based on observations of past events is not helpful for predicting black swans and might even make us more vulnerable to them. Okay, so this sentence is telling me that extrapolating is not helpful for predicting black swans. Okay, negative. So that's out. Obviously, we are looking for something that's positive in front. For extremely rare events, Taleb argues that the standard tools of probability and prediction, such as the normal distribution, do not apply since they depend on large population and past sample sizes that are never available for rare events by definition. So I do not see black swans, but I see rare events. Now we don't know what is black swans, let's say. Okay, do not use your general knowledge. Even if you knew what it is, as far as this particular paragraph is concerned, you should not be making this connection, black swans and rare events. You do not. Even though we can infer, should not, stay away from doing that. But we know that this sentence is talking about rare events, right? A key aspect of a black swan is that as a historically important event, observers are keen to explain it after the fact and speculate as to how it could have been predicted. Now you have your answer, right? We know that 4-1 is a block, right? By one round of reading, we know that 4-1 is definitely a block, because however, does not actually help. Such speculation does not help predict future black swans. People think that, observers think that, they can speculate. So 4-1 is one block. Now there are two big questions. Where am I going to put this sentence? Where am I going to put this sentence? Afterwards, before, right? For extremely rare events, Taleb argues. Now we have not even come across black swans. We're still talking about rare events in 3. Okay, so I can't put 3 after 4-1. Okay, I cannot put 3 here. Why not? Because we're talking about black swans. Suddenly, where did I come to rare events? Because the para itself is not giving me a connection between rare events and black swans, right? So this is the trap for the guessers. Okay, the students who guess or who try to make connections based on the general knowledge. This is a trap for them, deadly trap, because they're like, oh yeah, rare events and black swans are the same. So for extremely rare events is one more level. So I'll just put 3 after 4-1. You're wrong. Because who told you, right, that rare events and black swans have to be connected? You can only infer. Okay, so we don't make that connection. What we want to do is, we want to see 3-2. Are there any other clues? And there are. Okay, if you look at it very carefully. For extremely rare events, Taleb argues that the standard tools of probability and prediction, such as a normal distribution, do not apply. So this part is enough for me. Standard tools of probability and prediction. I do not need this part. They don't apply. That's all I need to understand. Since they depend on large population and past sample size, whatever be the reason, that are never available for rare events. So this is the only bit that's important for me. For extremely rare events, standard tools of probability and prediction do not apply. Okay, if you want to read the sentence again, you keep reading only this part. Done. Extrapolating using statistics based on observations of past events is not helpful for predicting black swans and might even make us more vulnerable to them. Okay. Now, these two are talking about swans. These two are talking about predicting black swans. So where do I put 2? Obviously, I have a place for 3, because I can't put 3 after 4-1, because this topic is talking about standard tools of probability and prediction, large population, blah, 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 blah. We know that 3 has to come somewhere in front of 4-1, not after 4-1. Okay, because after 1 says such retrospective speculation does not help predict future black swans, as these can be anything from a credit crisis to a war. Suddenly, for extremely rare events, standard tools of probability and prediction does not, because the author is already telling me I can't predict a war, I cannot predict a credit crisis, whatever it is. And this is the reason being given. Okay, and these two are talking about observations and how black swans can't be predicted. From there, suddenly, why would I say extremely rare events? Isn't it? I would continue using that language, saying for black swans, Taleb argues that standard tools of probability maybe would have considered. Right now, we don't even have to worry. But think of it the other way around. Okay, what are black swans is a question. If I ask, I need some sentence before the block 4-1 block talking about black swans to give me a hint of what black swans could be. Okay, and who's giving me that hint? 3 is giving me that hint. For extremely rare events. Okay, is like an introduction. For these events, Taleb argues standard tools of probability and prediction don't help. Okay, extrapolating using statistics based on observation of past events won't help. But suddenly he says predicting black swans. So this part, extrapolating using statistics based on observations of past events, especially this part, extrapolating using statistics, connects with this part. Okay, so that is why I know that the second part is talking about the same thing. So I need the 3-2 part before I can talk about the 4-1 part. A key aspect of a black swan is that as a historically important event, observers are keen to explain it after the fact and speculate as to how it could have been predicted. Such retrospective speculation does not actually help predict future black swans. So the easy part is to get 3-2 block, which a lot of you would have. The easy part is also to get 4-1 block, which a lot of you would have. The difficult part is, where do I put it? So you put 3-2 before the 4-1 block, for the simple reason that 4-1 is easy to make because of such in 1. But the big question is 3-2 first or 4-1 first. So some of you might end up getting 4-1, 3-2. Okay, if you got that way, you should ask yourself, what made me put 3 after 1? You would not have had any logic. You would have guessed it. You would have guessed it because you made black swans and rare events in your head the same. And then you said, okay, we are talking about black swans, and then we are saying for extremely rare events. That jump is incongruent. On the other hand, if I put 3 first, for extremely rare events, statistics won't work and past events won't work. Okay, and the key aspect of a black, and by time I come to 2, predicting black swans, and is not helpful for predicting black swans. I come there, I already know, okay, what he's talking about, because 3 together, between 3 and 2, I understand that rare events and black swans has a connection. Otherwise, there's another way, there's a small nuance here. There's another way of identifying how 4-1 block comes after 3-2. Okay, look at the language. A key aspect of a black swan. Okay, in 3-2, if you remember from previous videos, I had mentioned that the bigger ideas come before the smaller ideas if there are no grammar connections. If there are grammar connections, everything gets messed up. But if there's no grammar connection, you have like independent sentences, the bigger ideas come before the smaller ideas. So a key aspect of a black swan is going inside. Over here, I'm talking about predicting black swans, right? So I will have to tell you first what are black swans before I say a key aspect of a black swan. So somewhere in 3-2, the other sentences, some clue would be there. What is the clue? Extremely rare events. That clue has to come first. Then 4-1 will come first. Okay. Therefore, what is the order here? 3-2, 4-1 will be my order. I can't obviously put 2 in front of 3 because 2 is the follow-up idea of 3. Okay. Because there is this term here, Taleb argues, right? Now, if I put 2 in front of 3, Taleb argues will be out of place. I'm like, okay, where did Taleb come from suddenly? But if I put 3 in front of 2, I know that the previous sentence before 3 would have introduced this guy. And he continues arguing. So I can't put 3 after 2. There, this half name, despite the fact the full name is not there, is still going to help me. Okay. So 3-2, 4-1 is the order for this particular question. Let's look at the next question. Again, you can pause the video here and try to solve it yourself before we move on. Every constellation of a complex postulates a disturbed state of consciousness. Okay, sounds funky, sounds a little difficult too. But it's an independent sentence, so we can't do much with it. Just leave it aside for now. Okay, what is not so well known is that complexes can have us. Okay, again, independent sentence, no connectors. Please don't rush into this. Say, oh, what is not so well known? So must be some kind of connector. It's not a connector. Okay, it's an independent sentence. The existence of complexes. This part should occur to you already. Complex, we're talking about a complex. We're talking about a complex. Okay, so you know that the basic idea is around a complex. The existence of complexes throws serious doubt on the naive assumption of the unity of consciousness, which is equated with psyche, and on the supremacy of the will. The unity of consciousness is disrupted and the intentions of the will are impeded or made impossible. By the time you come to 4, you would have seen this similarity here. Unity of consciousness, unity of consciousness. If you have watched the previous videos, I have mentioned that if the same expression comes in 2 different sentences, you know that the sentence where that expression or the word or the term got introduced, that's the sentence that should come first. So unity of consciousness, unity of consciousness. But I have an introduction here, which is equated with psyche. Also, naive assumption of the unity of consciousness, which means I'm coming from a different topic to unity of consciousness, right? So I know that 3 has to come before 4, same term, but 3 not necessarily immediately in front because there are no connectors, but I know that 3 has to come somewhere in front of 4. Okay, now what is not so well known is that complexes can have us. Every constellation of a complex postulates a disturbed state of consciousness. Now you have to be able to make this connection: disturbed state of consciousness and disrupted. The unity of consciousness is disrupted and the intentions of the will are impeded or made impossible. Okay, every constellation of, so between 2 and 1, if you compare, what is happening here? Which sentence is more vague? What is not so well known is that complex can have us. Complex can have us means can control us or can vanquish us, defeat us, can overwhelm us, anything. There's something more powerful. Our complex can probably rule our mentality or personality or whatever it is. Let's not get into psychology. But so 2 is vague because the question is, okay, what is not so well known is that complex can have us. How is the question you want to ask? And if you notice, 1, 3 and 4 are explaining how or why, roughly, not entirely, but to a certain extent. 2 is vague. So 2 won't make sense anywhere else in the paragraph. The only place 2 can make sense is right at the beginning, at the top, isn't it? So you put 2. Again, if you notice, we are not saying, oh, independent sentence sounds like an introduction, so let's put it at the top of the paragraph. Okay, I'm strictly against that kind of thinking. A lot of teachers push you into that kind of thinking. Please don't get into that kind of thinking. It's not good for you. Or wherever you see independent sentences, suddenly get tempted to say, oh, this is introduction. Because if you notice here, all independent sentences, right? Everything's independent here. So You don't want to sound like sad Pablo trying to figure out which independent sentence comes first. We know that the vague sentence or the biggest idea or the most generic idea is coming right at the top, right? What is not so well known is that complexes can have us. So let's get out of the way. I know that 3 has to come before 4. Okay, just skeleton of the paragraph is ready. I know that 3 has to come after 2. Where do I put 1? Okay, I can put 1 here or here or here. Now, every constellation of a complex postulates a disturbed state of consciousness. The unity of consciousness is disrupted and the intentions of the will. So this is elaboration, right? If you notice, this says disturbed state of consciousness. This, on the other hand, says disrupted and the intentions of the will are impeded or made impossible, isn't it? So it's kind of explaining to me what exactly is a disturbed state of consciousness. So I know that 1 comes before 4 because the more details or the more specific sentences come later, the more vague sentences come at the top, right? Obviously, if I give all the detail in sentence 1, then what's the point of writing the vague sentence at the end, right? It's like saying global warming is a big problem. This summer is probably the hottest summer in the last 100 years. Now, I would not say this summer is the hottest summer first and then say global warming is a big problem. Newspapers will write like that. That's why you never learn your parajumbles from newspapers. They believe in sensationalism. Okay, this global warming problem is something I keep repeating over and over again, even in classes. The simple reason that you see this everywhere. They give you sensational stuff so that your attention is grasped or grabbed, not grasped, but grabbed. And then they give you the normal sentence. The newspapers have to sell newspapers, right, at the end of the day. But parajumbles don't work that way. They work in standard logic. How do writers write? First, they give you the generic idea, then I'll give you more details. Okay, because I'm writing an entire paper, and I'm not, and the exam setter doesn't have to worry about your attention span, because in the exam, obviously, you have attention span. You're going to read, irrespective of whether the sensation sentence comes first or last. You understand the difference? So stay away from the newspaper style of writing, and get this question a lot from students where they say, oh, but I've read it like this. Where have you read it? Okay, newspapers don't teach you English, and read newspapers to get familiarized with the language. General knowledge stops there. Okay, don't make newspapers the place where you learn your RC from, please. I know it's bad advice you get a lot on Quora, on YouTube, everywhere, people giving you gyan saying read newspaper daily. Read it. It's a good habit. General knowledge for information, getting familiarized with the language, lot of words, but it's not going to teach you the nuances of English language. What newspapers do is not necessarily the right way of writing it, except the editorial part. The editorial part is written by a guy who's like a dude in English writing. So that guy's language can be trusted. Okay, anyways, now, so I know that 4 has to follow 1. So 1 can come here or 1 can come here, right? Now, the question I have to ask is it 2134 or 231 or 2314? If you have come till here, that means you've done a really good job, because this is the tricky part. How do I decide? Okay, the existence of complexes throws serious doubt on the naive assumption of the unity of. So we are talking about existence of complexes here. In 1, we have already moved on to disturbed state of consciousness, which flows into this sentence, right? Which means 3 has to come first. So which means 1 has to come here, 1 won't come here. I can't go to disturbed state of consciousness, then come back and say, talk about unity of consciousness, naive assumption of the unity of consciousness and blah, blah, and then come and say, talk about disruption again. The idea flow has to be there. If you've noticed, we've discussed in the previous, in a previous video as well. So the answer to this question will be 2314. Okay, that brings us to the end of this small video. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you know that there is hardcore logic behind parajumbles, although it's not, parajumbles is not science. At the end of the day, depends, like given to you in the warning video in the beginning, the caveat that, you know, people can randomly just pick up some sentence and give it to you, depends on the test taker, but we can still deal with it, and there are no negatives. That's a good thing. And as long as you read fast, you will have a chance, just improving your chance to get it right. Okay, so if you're doing 4, you get 3 right because you have standard logic and method of going about it. Good job. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks a lot. Until next time.